Hello everybody and welcome back to The Breakdown. I'm Tone and today is day 15. Now I've given myself a day off yesterday. Yesterday was day 14, today day 15. I figured I would just combine the 2 days into one video and so yesterday marked 2 weeks since I put myself under a self-imposed lockdown. And of course, now finally the government agrees that we need to have a full-scale stage 4 kind of lockdown, which started today. Yesterday, as I understand it, 725 new cases, which was a record, and today 471 new cases. So those numbers, as we've expected, are sort of going to be a fairly steady number. And that's just because we're finding out cases where people got infected and didn't know that they were infected, and are just being tested now, and it's being found out now. So we're going to see in the next, as I've said, the next week or so, what effect this new lockdown strategy stage has on those numbers. I would hazard a guess that those numbers should reduce quite markedly, and it will further prove that the mask wasn't doing anything at all. We really should have just gone straight to the stage that we're at now, if not even more strict lockdown. And it's going to be interesting for me. I'm still looking at what's happening in other states. I haven't got an update on that, but look, there's cases that are being talked about in the wider parts of Victoria and in other states as well. I'm just interested to see what happens there. I haven't heard anything about mandating masks in any other states. However, they are talking about it and going, hey, these things are good and they work and they help. But of course, we know better than that because we live in Victoria. Indeed, I live in Melbourne, and I've seen that, well, hey, it didn't stop anything from occurring. It didn't slow anything down. And we still had to go to what we're in now. And of course, it's after 8 o'clock, so I'm following a curfew. Oh, wait, I was already following a curfew. I was already doing what we should have been doing. Anyway, I should be able to do these push-ups a little better today, considering that I had a break yesterday. Range of motion slightly increasing, so I'm able to get down a little further, which is good. I hope you guys are all well. Take a little break. I hope you guys are all well. Yeah, I really feel for everybody whose jobs have now been much more severely affected by these extra lockdowns now. And the fact that we're dealing with a case of not knowing if it's going to go beyond the 6 weeks. My feeling is that it will go beyond 6 weeks, and the reason is because we haven't entered into a complete and full lockdown. People are still able to move from their homes on a limited basis and are still allowed to work with permits. So things haven't completely stopped, so people have not been completely separated from each other. So I'm going to be interested to see if there's either a need for further restrictions, and I hope not, or just we have to go on a much longer period of time of this stage 4. And we have to see whether or not this stage 4 extends into the wider part of Victoria and indeed other states. At this time, I think other states are fairly stable, although I keep hearing reports from friends and that in other states they talk about they hear some cases here and some cases there. To be honest, I didn't look into the news a whole lot today. Yesterday and today I checked out the basics, and I'm already aware that we were going to go into the stage 4 lockdown officially today, but in terms of other information, I'm going to look into that a little bit more tomorrow. For our sanity, we can't get immersed in and bogged down in what the mass media wants to throw out at us, because it's just COVID, 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 and people are sick of it. But not just sick of hearing about it, sick of the fact that it's not being handled correctly. And the fact that we could have been finished with this quite possibly much earlier, and we're still dealing with it now. And people want to know why certain strategies weren't put in place, when I think people deep down know it wasn't handled properly. And hopefully we get some answers. I wouldn't be counting those chickens, but hopefully we do get some answers. Because for one, I would like to know what answer they'd give. Whether or not I believe them is another story, but I would like to know what stories they'd like to give us in terms of why they consider the lockdown not needing to go ahead much earlier. Now, I had a little bit of a look at what I've got left over, stored up for this lockdown, being 2 weeks in. And some of the more luxury items that I wouldn't mind partaking in have started to reduce. But I've still got plenty of what I need. And being that everything hasn't completely locked down, we can still get deliveries if we really need them. So kudos to anyone that is out there still doing the door-to-door deliveries from Coles and Woolworths and whatever else. Good on you. Special shout out to people dealing with, like, nurses and doctors who are dealing with all of this on the front lines, as they like to put it on the news. I do wonder what a lot of the nurses and doctors who are dealing with this stuff firsthand would actually say. I've watched a few videos on YouTube from doctors and nurses in America, and they are doctors and nurses, and they have different ideas to the mass media and the multitude of doctors coming out with their scripted stuff. And it's interesting, and I encourage everybody to look into that too if you're interested in following what is more likely to be the truth. Not the spoon-fed, you know, here comes the plane stuff. You know, so... But I'd be interested to know what even some of the doctors and nurses here in Australia think, based on what they're seeing. Because I know that there's so much more to this story than what we know now and what we may ever know. There's so much more. We're not getting told the whole story, not by a long shot. I mean, for one example, or actually a number of examples, there are some people making videos out there who have older relatives who have been dying during this time. And let's understand that the majority of the deaths that we're hearing about are from the aged care sector here in Victoria, from those aged care clusters. But it's interesting to hear some people doing these videos and trying to get it out there on YouTube and Facebook, talking about how they know for a fact that their mother or father or grandfather or grandmother in fact actually died of something other than COVID, and yet on the death certificate it has put COVID there. They know, and they're actually fighting against it. They're saying, hang on, we know that it was Alzheimer's, or we know that it was cancer. We actually know that it was something other than COVID. And we start to get into, you know, when people want to say you're a conspiracy theorist. But when you're hearing first-hand accounts from people who are saying, hang on a minute, no, Dad didn't die, Mum didn't die from COVID. We know that it was something that they were already dying of. That's what took them. So that stuff's important because that actually makes the numbers different. Now, it doesn't remove the risk of COVID-19. That it's a real thing for sure, and I'm guessing quite a few people have tragically passed away from it. Many people tragically pass away from the common flu. But this fact of people being listed as a COVID-19 victim and have died from it, when indeed it was not COVID-19 that killed them, that starts to be a problem. It starts to mess with the data. It starts to make people sort of see these larger numbers, and they don't question the numbers, they just get caught up in the fear of it. That's important. We need to know that, and we need to have connection as much as we can with people who claim to not have had their relative die from COVID. Anyway, as always, guys, I encourage you to question everything and to, keep yourselves safe and don't be silly about it, and just go and take the risk because it's not real, that kind of thing. But at the same time, realize and remember that something that someone tells you, and then, so you could get told that, no, it's nothing, by the conspiracy theorists that, they like to label them as conspiracy theorists. The other side say it's hell on earth and we're all going to die. You're going to find that the truth is somewhere in between there. And it's important, very important, that we realise that. We don't get caught up in either side. I'm not going to wear a mask and I'm going to go protest the mask, rather than just stay at home, stop spending your money, and you'll soon figure out whether or not it's got anything to do with that. Or, we're all going to die. Well, then if we're all going to die, if we go out and mix with people, then the mask isn't going to save you, so stay at home. We find a middle point. And we all get the same result that we want, and that is going back to normal because it's gone. Yeah, look, I think that's really about it for day 15. I can't believe that it's already 2 weeks since I started this playlist, since I started this practice of staying home and doing 50 odd push-ups. You know, I don't think it's 50. I haven't really counted them, but I'm already starting to feel the benefits, not just from the daily push-ups and the other daily fitness stuff that I'm doing at home, but the daily fitness of objectively looking at everything and taking control of my own knowledge of this. And look, I've spoken about this stuff from the start of this thread, you know, from the start of this video series. And I said, I believe strongly that we will get to a stage 4 and that this mask wearing thing cannot do anything to prevent it, because they don't do anything in effect to eradicate this thing. The most they do is catch your spit, but they don't stop it from being on your hands, because if you're going to do everything properly and treat PPE properly, you can't touch the mask while you're wearing it without, again, sanitizing your hands. And you see people adjusting their masks. So wear the mask, wear the mask, wear the mask. Why? Why push wear the mask when it's not going to do anything to prevent going to a stage 4? And voila, we've got a stage 4. Now, I'm not lucky to predict such a crazy concept. I logically looked at everything and went, okay, if this is true, this is true, this is true, and this is true, then I can surmise that this will be the result. And you guys can do that too. You can look at it and you can listen to everything people are saying, and you can figure out for yourself exactly whether or not you're being lied to, being given all of the information or not. Okay? And that's the point. I know that there'll be people who think, what's the point of staying at home and boycotting going out and boycotting the mask? It wasn't the mask. It was boycotting the fact that the mask, or boycotting in the face of the fact that the mask will prevent a stage 4 or prevent anyone from getting sick. That's what the point of the boycott was. And I think those who think logically about these things would understand it, and have now seen the result. We all have to wear masks statewide, and we're all in deeper restrictions statewide, mask or no mask. I think we will leave it there for today, folks. I really appreciate your time for coming and following my thoughts on this. I hope that it's an encouragement to you to look into these things yourself, to educate yourself, to take a lot of the fear out of this whole thing when we just get this agenda, we get this narrative shoved down our throats every day, fear and be afraid. That's not helpful. It's not conducive to people following what they want us to follow either. It's not a freedom at all. If we have to stay at home to protect each other and ourselves, then we'll do that. I think anyone really would, as long as they were, understood that it's not because we're telling you to do it. Being given certainty actually fosters not only good leadership, but those that will follow good leadership. are much more likely to follow a strategy and a structure. Anyway, thank you for joining me on the breakdown. Like the video if you liked it, please, that would help me a lot. Subscribe to my channel if you found this helpful as well. I've got plenty of other content that I would appreciate you checking out, and share the video with anyone that you feel needs encouragement in critical thinking, in freeing yourself from depressive attitudes and anxiety, those sorts of things. You can bring yourself out of those things yourself by critically thinking through the issues and taking control of your own mind. So I talk about those things in other videos on this channel as well. And yeah, look, take care of each other, take care of yourselves, stay at home as much as you possibly can so that we do get out of this sooner. And yeah, until tomorrow for day 16. Oh my gosh, before you know it, it'll be 3 weeks. Until tomorrow for day 16, take care and bye for now. God bless.